Welcome to another episode of Exploring the Vintage NFT Space podcast with Zero G. I'm excited to have with me today as a guest Nathan Sonic, a OG Rare Pepe creator, and as well as many other collections. Thanks for joining me today, Nathan.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, chuffed.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to chat with you today. You've got a incredible selection of OG rares, and I know you've participated in some other collections as well.
Yeah.
But before we jump into that, let's talk about your background in crypto. Like, what got you started, and what made you take the first leap into actually purchasing?
Yeah. So I had this good friend of mine who had for a couple of years been getting into like ways to make money, and he was like really into it, doing all sorts of like arbitrage and trading stocks and stuff. And then one day he came to me and he was like, "Oh, have you ever heard of this thing called Bitcoin? You might be interested in it." And sure enough, like I thought it was like really, really interesting. I loved the whole like idealism and the whole like social aspect of it. And yeah, and so I started buying up little bits of it. That was in about 2014. And obviously then I found out about all the other shit coins. And yeah, and Ethereum was just like getting going at that point as well. So I spread my stuff around, and I started like trading crypto stuff. And
So
yeah, go
you
on.
were really fascinated by the philosophy as well as the ability to kind of make some gains too. Sounds like, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Actually, I hadn't really thought about the gains until they happened, really. I just as soon as I heard about Ethereum as well, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I just can't believe how amazing this is. And so, I bought some Ethereum, like, just as they launched. And then, obviously the gains started coming in, and then it became interesting, and I got really into trading, and I just loved the whole like science of trading. So yeah, there was the idealism, and there still is. Like, I'm still really into like the idealism of Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the coins that say they can do something. But I was really in the early days, like probably most crypto people got this, but every shitcoin that came up, I was like, wow, this is a great new idea. This is going to solve all these problems. And so I'd
Oh,
buy up.
that was totally me too. I was following all those altcoins back in the day because that was the deal. Is like pretty much all the interesting ones had like a new technology or a
Yeah,
new way of doing things. So
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. It was like a really rapidly evolving space, in that sense. I mean, granted, 99.999% of them are went straight to zero in the years afterwards, but at least at
yeah,
the time they had some promise.
yeah. And I mean, I still find it all really interesting now. Even even though like I'm just totally skeptical about anything that new that comes up, but I still find the whole scene like really interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think you kind of have to you develop a healthy skepticism
yeah,
after seeing so many things come and go, and
yeah,
also kind of like what we see in NFTs and some of these more sophisticated projects where they have like roadmaps and all these
yeah.
promises. I mean, we've seen the same thing so far before, where a lot of these coins where even if they technically even deliver the roadmap, usually it's so terrible or no one uses it that it still goes to
Yeah,
zero.
yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. It runs throughout this whole scene, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So go ahead.
Yeah. So so I might be preempting you a little bit here, but that was sort of how I got into CounterParty. Was just finding all these amazing coins, and coin market cap was already going back then, and CounterParty was like a top 10 coin, and I'd been trading, buying and selling it, and just making money off it. And I thought, oh, this is a great project. And so yeah, I was in the chat and stuff. But I didn't originally find Rare Pepes through that CounterParty chat. I didn't visit it enough. The thing that got me into Rare Pepes was, I don't know if you know, but about this, but do you know Poloniex? They're like
Yeah, I used to trade there
it's,
back in the day. Yeah,
yeah. And so they had the troll box, and
yeah.
it's just awful stuff going on in there. Awful stuff. But it was Rob Ness. who used to be known as Ground Beef Taxi back then, banging on about Pepe Cash over and over again, like in all his block capital letters and stuff. And he just went on about it so much. And I was like, all right, I've got to look into this Pepe Cash thing. So yeah, I looked into it, and it had already been going quite a while when I looked into that. But yeah, I realized it was on CounterParty, and just then got into the whole like CounterParty, that side of CounterParty rather than yeah, the sort of functional side of it.
It's
just
it's
messing with
funny.
that.
It's funny. Like I never interacted with the troll box just because it was like some of the most vicious scammers and spammers ever.
Yeah, it was like a Wild West, wasn't it? I just thought
It
it was
was,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I never bought into anything. Like I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pepe Cash was like the only thing, just because of this guy just banging on about it so much.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely cool. So, looking at your cards, one of the things that occurred to me is you obviously have some skill and talent, in the art on the art side. So I was kind of curious to hear about your background there and how you got into art and got these skills that you obviously used for your Pepes and other projects.
Yeah, yeah. So I was always into music as a kid, playing in lots of bands and stuff. And then I, for some reason, ended up going to university to do astrophysics. But I was there for a year, and I lived with these guys in the halls of residence here, who were doing this new music course, and it was sonic art. It was like sound art. And they were just doing these amazing things. Like they were just having a wild time, and and it was music stuff. It was like audio based, and it was just all stuff that I was really into. So I quit my astrophysics course after the first year and switched to doing sonic art.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't good at astrophysics, by the way. I was awful. I was failing it. So it was probably good that I switched.
I guess that makes the decision a lot easier, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I did love looking at the stars though. That was the best. Like, yeah, just a year of like being in an observatory in the night times was really cool. But yeah, anyway, so that course, that sonic art course, it was a proper arty course, like really got me into like a huge variety of arts. And it was in an art department at a university where there was like loads of other arts going on, and we interacted with the drama students and the dance students, and like, yeah. So I just got a really quick hardcore education, like in all the arts basically. And I went on to do a master's in sonic art after that, which was really cool. Spent a couple of years doing that. Met some more interesting art people as well, and then out of that, when I finished university, I sort of went and did a normie job, and was just doing art as a sideline. And so I was about 23, 24 years old at that point. And I was doing all sorts of stuff. Like I was doing some video art and some, plenty of music stuff, and some performance art as well. But just over the years, like, as normie life like crept on, like I did less and less art, and my overall production just went down and down and down, and, I got married and had a kid, and yeah. And so, yeah, I when I got to this point where I got into crypto, I'd pretty much like stopped doing art. I was doing some writing, and that was about it. But then, yeah, this whole like, just the funniest thing, like just this meme, just like that somebody else, somebody else's frog cartoon that became a meme, like, just became my artistic output. And so when I got into Pepe's, I didn't have any drawing skills. I'd just been learning some coding stuff, so I was like into coding. I'd like messed about with like Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator like twice. But yeah, but basically, like I was doing the Pepes and learning those skills like as I went. Like,
That's really amazing. Did you ever do any?
yeah,
So that's where your name Nathan Sonic comes from, I'm assuming, with your background in the Sonic art, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
basically, yeah, yeah.
Well, did you
Sound.
ever do anything with that, or did you kind of put that on the like put that on the shelf when you got the normie job?
Yeah, I mean, I've still been doing lots of bits of music, like just straight up more, just straight up music. But in terms of like the sound art stuff, like basically when I finished my masters, I pretty much didn't do any ever since then. I just straight out of my masters, I got into doing video art.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I maybe burnt myself out on sound art stuff. Like I ran out of ideas. I didn't have any more ideas. The only reason I did a master's was because like I had a couple of good ideas for like some exhibitions still in my brain, but yeah, I used them all up and that was it.
On to the next thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool that you I wouldn't have guessed that you didn't have any experience in the computer graphics side when you started with the Rare Pepe, so that's fun.
None. Yeah, I just learned it as I went along, and so yeah, anyone can do it basically. Just it took me ages. It took me ages to do anything because I had to like go and learn it all first. But it was worth it. Like a whole
So
bunch of skills.
when you stumbled across Rare Pepes and you obviously you get obsessed like a lot of us do, right?
Yeah, got into
So
collecting.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming you started collecting first, right? And
yeah.
when did you decide to like make the leap and create your own card?
I actually, so as soon as I discovered it, I actually like was like, I've got to make my own one. I've got to make my own one. But it took so long to make my first one. I can't remember which one it was now. I think it's like Pepe Top Keck or
Yeah,
something,
that's right.
which is like a classic Photoshop job.
Mhm.
Yeah, it took me ages to make it. And by that point, they'd got to like series 16. And I think was it series 16 was like hand-drawn Pepe's only, or maybe that was a bit later, but something happened where like basically I couldn't submit this Pepe until like series 21,
Mhm.
like, or series 20 maybe. Series 19 was all the game ones that John
Mhm.
Villars made, so like
Yeah.
no one could put any in that, and that as well, like when they reserved them all for him, like it took like 3 months for him to like finish them all, so
Oh,
everybody
no
was
way.
like, yeah. So yeah, I submitted it as soon as I could, but I had plenty of time to collect then, and I was like, I mean, probably again, this is like similar to a lot of people's experiences. We had Book of Orbs. I don't know if you
Mhm.
know about Book of Orbs.
Yeah. Yeah,
A little app.
I talked to someone about that who had to explain it to me. I never used it before, but yeah, it sounds really sweet. The mobile app.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. I wish it was still supported. I'd still use it now, even the same way it was, but yeah, it's gone. But yeah, I was on Book of Orbs all night. I'd get in bed and I'd be awake on Book of Orbs, like scrolling down, like clicking on cards, see how much they were worth, and yeah, just snapping them up and thinking to myself, what the hell am I doing? Like I'm wasting all my money on these stupid memes. What am I doing? But they were so cheap. I mean, they were like, 50p, 10p. Well, it's 50 cents if you're American.
Yeah, it's funny how you can easily go down the rabbit hole and spend too
Yeah,
much time and money on this stuff.
yeah. It sucks you in, doesn't it? I mean, it's classic human collecting. It's
Oh,
that thing
totally.
that, yeah,
Yeah, it's primal. I mean,
yeah,
it really it it really gets you.
yeah,
Yeah, so your first one, the top keck. So yeah, that's a like you said, kind of a classic Photoshop job. So that what was the idea there? Just kind of to meme on the like the Japanese like candies, or what was the um
yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously, like Keck and Top Keck were like had
mhm,
become a bit of a thing, like a meme thing as well, um, and I'd heard that there was these snacks called Top Keck. So yeah, I just was like, oh well, wouldn't it be great if there was like Pepe flavored Top Keck?
oh, I didn't know that was actually a real snack, the top
Yeah,
kecks.
it's a real snack. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, so I didn't like, so yeah, that the packaging is actually like, it's their brand packaging, like a photograph
Oh,
packaging. So that makes my Photoshop skills look a lot even worse, doesn't it? Because all I did was like put the little Pepes on and turned it green.
oh,
Um,
okay. Because I thought you did the entire thing. I didn't know that
yeah,
that was a real thing. Yeah, that's cool.
yeah. And I would love to get some of those snacks as well. I really want to taste them.
Yeah, now that I know that it's real, I would I'd be curious to try it too, right?
Yeah, we've got to find them. We'll bring them to HNFT Fest.
Yeah.
HNFT. Yeah,
Yeah, but order a box and
yeah,
that could recoup your flight costs, right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's definitely cool. So what was your experience with your like, minting and selling your first card? Was that pretty fun?
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and I think I'd minted stuff on Counterparty before, like, but just asset names,
Oh, okay.
because that was what it was supposed to be for. And I'd sort of messed with the platform itself, and bought some random other shit coins that someone else had, other people were using Counterparty like to put out shit coins and stuff. So yeah, I mean it was clunky, and it still is. It's still the same as it was back then. But that was all of crypto as well.
Yeah, it I was surprised. I was able to register like, in a lot of these other crypto systems where you can register names, like people go through and they just like mass register everything to like
Yeah,
camp, and
yeah,
I was
yeah,
really surprised. Like I was able to go in and like register a couple, like, like for some stuff I'm working on, and then
yeah,
like I was able to register my own handle, so that's something
yeah,
that's nice, is that um because with Counterparty, once you like, it's not like Namecoin or some of these other systems where they expire. If you register it, then you know whoever has it, they've locked that up forever until they
yeah,
decide to either use it or sell it. So
yeah.
I'm really glad that the community didn't get super toxic about that back in the day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, there's been plenty of things that they have got toxic about though. So it could have been anything, but yeah, yeah. But I mean, there's still some great names available out there. Like I'd recommend anyone to get out there. There's still loads of 4-letter assets to be minted. And like, Ethereum like went through that whole
just
like
just don't take them all, guys, please.
yeah, don't take them all. Yeah. Someone's doing it. Someone's out there doing it. But the other day I registered the name Pepe backwards. No one had registered that.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's a golden one.
yeah. So yeah, there's that. Um, yeah, so get in there if you've got some ideas.
So yeah, so you minted that one out and you got it accepted. What was that process like for your first one, like submitting it and getting accepted and starting like selling or trading it? What was that like?
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, so I don't remember exactly how it was back then, but I seem to remember at some point you had to send it to one of the scientists, but eventually it became like all within a Telegram chat, and there was a bot basically that you talk to. So you'd talk to the bot, you'd tell it your asset name, and then you'd send it the picture, and that's it. It was gone, and you'd wait for the approval, and the approval would come through on the bot channel, say your Pepe has been approved, you can start selling and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool. I was just really chuffed to be part of it at that point. Yeah, getting sucked in even more.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I can imagine.
yeah,
Um, oh, that's cool. So, your first one, the Pepe Top Kick, that was season 21. And it
yeah,
looks like you got started right away on your other ones, because your next one is in season 22.
yeah. I can't remember what one that
It's
was. What was
that
it?
one is the PMO Pepe, and I was
Oh
curious
yeah.
what that is.
Yeah, so that's another like derivative. So that BMO is like a character from Adventure Time.
Okay.
I was just really into Adventure Time back then. I was like trying to make one of the characters into a Pepe, and that was one that came out best, really. Um, yeah, cute
Okay.
little
Yeah, I
guy.
never watched that, so I didn't know what that was a reference to. So
Yeah.
glad I
He's
asked.
it's a brilliant character, BMO. But yeah, Adventure Time's great. Yeah, if you've got the time, then
I'll
get
have to
in.
check that out. Yeah. So one thing I was going to ask too is, so your supply, how did you determine your supply on your cards? Because you got kind of the run the gamut.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to have a good variety throughout all the cards I did. Some of them the issuance is like significant, like for Pepistry, for instance, it's 1066, which is when the Bayeux Tapestry was depicting. Um, and what was the other one? I think I can't remember some of the other ones, but I think Rare Cherry was 180, and there was a good reason for that too, but I can't remember what the reason was. Um, but yeah, I just wanted a good variety, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
So you
with
have,
high issuance and some with low.
yeah, so that way you could like have a good variety to both sell and trade and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually felt bad doing low issuance when I did. So Pepe Ubu, when I did that one, I was like, I did it. That was my lowest issuance at 100, and I was like, ooh, I feel bad. It means people can't collect it. The scientists like were always banging on about like people should be able to collect them. You should mint lots and lots. You know, the more people can have, the more they want to collect, and the better it'll be. And I was kind of that mindset too.
Well, I know as a collector, I prefer, well, I mean, like some people, I guess that some people don't like the higher supply ones.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's kind of interesting because I think it's really amazing, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but some of your, you know, I think having these really cool cards that are higher supply is great for the community because it gives
yeah,
people the opportunity to get something that's still super cool without having to spend a ton of cash, because there's a lot of the, there's some classic cards that are 100 and lower supply, and it just prices people out,
yeah,
especially
totally,
if
yeah,
it is super cool. Then again, with only 100 or less, it can get nuts.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's great that there's some variety really, and I think uh the people who own those low issuance ones, that they might not be as valuable without the high issuance ones bringing people in and like
Yeah.
making this like buzz around it a bit. So yeah, they should value them more. Like, as in personally, not necessarily monetarily.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. um well, that's cool. Well, let's the next card you put out is one of my favorite too. I wanted to talk with you about, which is ISOPEPE, which is
Yeah.
uh like really an amazing card and super cute. Let's talk about the story on ISOPEPE.
Yeah. So I think ISOPEPE is one of my few like non-derivative ones, but I was just really into isometric art. I always have been. Like there's some artists that I really love who do isometric stuff, like in real life artists and also like digital artists. And I'd messed around with some isometric drawing myself, and I just wanted to do something ISO. So I managed to find like a tool online which would allow me to draw something isometric, but then I wanted it to be animated, and I wanted it to have, the nice thing about isometric is you lose that depth of field. So I wanted it to be able to move around and to see that it wasn't quite the same. And yeah, just working that all out was an absolute ball ache, and it took ages. And then to animate it, it was so you couldn't animate it in the tool I was using, but you can turn it around. So what I was doing was basically turning it bit by bit and screenshotting it. So basically making a GIF, but by like stop motion, like online basically. So that whole thing was like a stop motion isometric movement. Yeah.
So you had to like manually, like essentially cut together all of the individual frames to make the animation.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You drop them all. I mean, that's the easier bit, is like when you've got all the
Yeah.
frames, dropping them in. But yeah, getting all the frames in the first place, it took ages, and just working out how to do it. Yeah, it was a labor of love, that one, but it's probably one of my personal favorites of my own as well. So like, yeah, it came out really good, and I was really happy with it, and I was happy that it came out that way with all the work that I put in.
Did you
It's a
save
classic
the
art thing, isn't it? You want, like, there's sometimes when you put little effort in and something comes out amazing, and then sometimes you put so much effort into something and it comes out awful, and you just have to drop it. Like, but this was
yes.
like a lot of effort and a lot of good results. So yeah, it was nice.
Did you save the original file for this one, or do you know if that software even exists for?
Oh, do you know what? A couple of years ago, I looked for the tool again, and it was still up, but I have to look again. It was on a university website, like it was just like a university maths department thing,
Mhm.
like just as an example of something. Um, so yeah, I'd have to look it up, but the video file, oh, and the original frames and stuff, I'm pretty sure they're gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's too bad. Well, you might want to rip down that original tool just for posterity's sake.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah. Get it up on the Wayback Machine or something.
Yeah, you can download it locally to your PC too. There's some tools,
Yeah.
like we can talk about that offline. So,
Yeah, cool.
um, so cool. Yeah, again, I really love that one. That's super cool. It's really stands out in the the entire collection, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
cool. Oh,
Um,
thanks.
so, how was that received, by the way, when you put that out? Did people get hyped about it?
Yeah, I think people liked it. Yeah, I don't think none of my cards have ever had like a mad rush for them, like some of them have, and they've never like achieved cult status,
Mhm.
like a lot of other ones have as well. I mean, there's nothing really like mimetic about a
Mhm.
lot of my cards. Like, you know, they don't play on the memes a lot.
Oh, I
Um,
see. Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, so it doesn't hold that, they don't hold that much value really. But I think yeah, people liked it and appreciated it, you know, well enough for what it was. So uh yeah, I mean, I've been happy with the reception of everything, of all the Pepes I've done really,
Mhm.
but I'm just happy to be part of it, you know. It didn't really matter too much.
Yeah, for sure. Your next card is Rare Cherry, which I thought was really clever in the sense that you're using earlier Pepes as the cards in the animation from. This is from like the isn't this from like the solitaire animation when you would,
Yeah,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. So that was a piece of computer programming. So I actually like programmed, like, I mean, it's
Okay.
easy to find, yeah, it's easy to find examples because it's like a famous bit of programming, that whole solitaire
Mhm.
drop thing, and a lot of people try and recreate it, so it's easy to find tutorials for that one. um but yeah, getting the cards into it was a bit of a ball ache. Yeah, a lot of this was a ball ache, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
But
one thing I just
remembering how
noticed.
difficult everything was, like, yeah. So yeah, and I think I had like a code version of it. I think I've still probably got it actually, the actual genuine code version, and it reads the cards from like the Rare Pepe directory API or something. So it actually fetches the cards in real life as well, and gets the images in there. But the last time I looked, some of the cards weren't being got from the API, so they
Yeah.
come up as like that little like JPEG thing when it's broken. So yeah, I'll have to look into that again. Yeah, there was an actual code version of it, but it's called the guy who actually designed the original solitaire thing
Mhm.
was a guy called Matt Cherry. So that's why it's Rare Cherry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask like why the name, because I didn't one thing I noticed too in the animation is you managed to include ISOPEPE as one of the cards too. So
Yeah,
that's fun.
yeah, I get my own card in there. Yeah, yeah,
It's fun. I'd never thought about that before, but things like the OG solitaire are really a part of our collective history, and the
yeah,
source code for that is really, kind of a relic in its own manner.
yeah, totally. And the guy just worked for Microsoft, and he didn't, nothing special came of it for him. He just did this bit of coding, and it became a thing. And he never made a huge amount of money or became extra famous from it or anything. So yeah, that was a little tribute to him. And actually, like when that was released, I actually
Mhm.
did a giveaway for someone who could like tell me something about why it was called Rare Cherry. And people went and had a little look, and they were like, yeah, it's Matt Cherry. So like, well done, Matt Cherry.
It's
I'm
it's
trying
so
I'm trying to get you the recognition, Matt.
it's so funny that he probably did was one of the bigger reasons for adoption of like Microsoft Windows back in the day, because I remember
Yeah,
like like Solitaire and some of those like Minesweeper, some of those games were, for people that weren't really into computers, it was the thing or the reason that got them to actually care enough to actually fire up a computer, so I
yeah,
mean everyone has to start somewhere, right? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's an interesting little tidbit that I learned when I was doing that, actually, that he originally put a little kill switch in it as well, so that you could be playing it while you're at work, and if your boss came along, you'd press a button and it would disappear.
oh, no
uh,
way.
yeah, but Microsoft made him take it out. They were like, no, you can't do that. So he wasn't allowed to have the kill switch.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's super rad. And so your next one is Tomato Pepe, which is a play on another Pepe, right?
Yeah, that was, yeah, Yamato Pepe. So in the UK, tomatoes are obviously called tomatoes. So Yamato and tomato, they rhyme with each other.
Mhm.
Um, So I was like very aware that it wasn't going to rhyme to the Americans.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I don't know if you know about the history of Yamato Pepe.
I've
That
seen it,
was
but I don't know I don't know like if there's a special significance there.
the only special significance is that the people who put it out, they were known as the Goon Squad, and they used to just pester the chat something chronic about their cards. They would post their cards up like every day over and over again, like, yo, you get a good deal on this, get a good deal on that. And then they even got into like booing other people's cards as well. So if you put your card up, they'll be like, oh, this is awful. You want to see a real card? Check this one out. Here's Yamato Pepe. So Yamato Pepe just, everyone just got sick of it really quick. And it just, the Goon Squad, it was awful. So
Did they
yeah,
get chased
Yamato,
off, or what happened there?
I think they stuck around until the bear market, basically. When the bear market
Okay.
came and everyone disappeared, they disappeared
Mhm.
along with that. But yeah, so it was basically like a rip off, you know, it was basically a pun on their thing, just trying to make it silly, but also really good, maybe a little bit
Mhm.
better than theirs, like, you know,
Yeah.
just playing with it. And yeah, I'm glad it got accepted, because at that point, like, they were getting the scientists were getting funny about cards that were like too self-referential or like too much based on other cards as well.
Uh-huh.
So like they accepted it, and almost actually probably that was probably one of my most well-received cards, really, just because of
Mhm.
that whole story. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of giving it back to them a little bit, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Japanese symbols in the middle like mean vegetables as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the middle of their one, it means something like, yeah, like warrior something. But yeah,
Yeah.
there was a whole debate as well about because obviously, like, there's, instead of the sword, like there's
Mhm.
the butter knife with the butter on it, but then
Yeah.
there's tomatoes as well. So like there was a whole discussion about like, can you have like buttered tomatoes? Is that a thing? That became a bit of a joke, the buttered tomatoes. Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. Well, yeah, good to get the backstory on that one for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Your next one was Pepe Letter A, which
yeah.
isn't that like a reference to like some like kids books or like learning the alphabet?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just, again, like I had a kid at that time, and he was only a little one, and we had that little book. It was a ladybird book, which is like,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, it was the same book from when I was a kid. So it's like really classic old alphabet book. And yeah, it was just in his room, and I was just looking at it thinking like it'd be cool if that was like a Pepe. So yeah, quite a simple one, but like, yeah, it's one
It
of
could,
those ones where it's very simple, but it
revealing
took a
that
while to
thought
work out how I was
process,
going to do it. Yeah, go
revealing
on.
that thought process kind of shows how Pepe had taken over your mind by that point,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like, yeah, everything's a Pepe. Yeah, that was what it was at that point. I mean, still even now, like Pepe, everything is Pepe. Like Pepe is everything, you know. Um, that's the meme, isn't it? So yeah, still
Yeah,
is. Still is. I still see things and be like, oh, Pepe. Yeah,
that's funny.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I thought that's what it was, but I wanted to make sure.
yeah,
So yeah, that's definitely cool, and it turned out really well as well.
yeah, yeah. Again, like, even though it's simple, it's still quite a bit of work just to get the texture and just, yeah, working out how to get the eye in it, because originally, like, where would you put the eye? I would put the eye on the apple at first, and then I was like, I could do the leaf, but then there's only one. But it worked out well. Yeah,
Yeah, it looks cool for sure, and it
yeah,
almost like you said, it almost has that construction paper like look to the rest of the cover
yeah,
or the
yeah,
page, you know.
yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, your next one is an unusual one too. The rare template. You want to
Yeah,
discuss that one?
yeah, yeah. So that was a piece of code again. So I was messing with some code stuff, and I don't know how I got to where I got to with it, but basically just this spinning thing made out of code. And originally I put the card template, the Pepe card template in there, and and I was gonna just send it to him as that. It was going to be the original Pepe template without any Pepe the Frog in it or anything, and that template spinning round as it does with the frog. And I thought it looked really cool. And then before I submitted it, there was some like conversation about that template, and I can't remember why, but it put me off using the template. I mean, I think partly I didn't realize as well that it was actually the same template that was used for like Magic the Gathering and stuff, and like it wasn't an original like template for Rare Pepes or anything. I think that was like maybe part of it, but yeah, so I ended up just swapping it for a different Pepe and just like, you know, finding this other Pepe and coloring it and stuff. And yeah, again, it was like a piece of code, so it was just the GIF is actually a screen recording of that code. And again, like I'm pretty sure I've got that code somewhere. Like I should put it up again, shouldn't I? But yeah, I used that spinning thing for quite a few things after that.
Yeah, you should definitely find it and back it up for sure.
Yeah, I'll do a sub asset. You've kicked me up the butt there. I'll do a sub asset of those things and like put the code in there.
Yeah, that actually would be a cool sub asset for sure. Yeah, and that makes sense. I always wondered why, because it didn't make sense to me why it was called Rare Template when, you know,
I'd already minted the name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool. The next one is one that I was really curious to talk to you about because you know, I'd collected most of your cards, but this is one that didn't look to have ever been distributed. It's the Wampum Pepe.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, Wampum Pepe was sort of a present to a friend of mine at the time. Back in the day, like he's still around, Wampum, and a good friend. So yeah, he went by the handle Wampum, and we had this there was this big conversation that we had with a few other people where he was explaining wampums to him. It was more like an argument than an explanation, as a lot of things are with wampum. And yeah, I thought it was really interesting, like this whole thing about wampums and just learning about them. So I made him this Wampum Pepe, and I minted the name Wampum Pepe, but I didn't attach, you know, it wasn't submitted to the directory or anything. I just sent him the JPEG and said, "Oh look, I've made you this Wampum, and here's Wampum Pepe." So he took that. So the Wampum that I made is the image that goes along the top. It was like just a whole Wampum. And he took that and made it into a card and put the quote on it and stuff. And because I'd minted the name, I minted the issuance, you know, on his choice, and then he submitted it to the Rare Pepe scientists, and I sent him the whole issuance. So I apologize for anyone who's trying to get hold of that card and is wondering why I'm holding on to it. It's not me, it's Wampum you need to talk to, but I don't think you're going to get him to sell any.
Yeah, what was his idea with that? So he has the entire issuance and hasn't, like, as far as I could tell, like none of them have moved. Like what was the whole purpose of getting it accepted then?
Well, obviously, like he still wanted it to be part of the Rare Pepe project, but he's got a few like that where he's got the whole issuance and hasn't sold any of them. And like I gotta say, I admire his guts, because like there's a lot of people that hate him because of it. But yeah, I don't know, you'll have to ask him why he wants to do that. I know that he's definitely tried to sell like some of the ones where he did have the whole issuance and he hadn't sold any, he's tried to sell the whole issuance to someone else. And I think one of those ones did sell at the Rare as Fuck festival, Rare AF, in New York, in like 2018. He like auctioned it. It was the Fresh Prince Pepe, I think. Yeah, so someone there bought the whole issuance of that. And yeah, so and he has tried to do that with Mr. T, the Mr. T Alpha one as well, but like as far as I know, he hasn't tried to do that with Wampum yet. I think maybe it's a bit more of a personal one for him because it's his own handle.
Interesting. Yeah, because I thought the Mr. T Alpha was done by like Hallucifile, and I thought
that's the same guy. Yeah.
Oh, so
I'm maybe not supposed to say that.
We could
it's another handle of his. I think most people know.
Okay. Interesting. So well, that's good to know. So I'll have to reach out and see if if he'll talk turkey, but it doesn't sound promising at this point. So
Yeah. So he's going to be at HNFT Fest if you're going there.
oh yeah, I can't. I'm not going to be able to make it this year due to some personal stuff, but
Yeah, okay.
you know,
No worries.
you know, definitely. I think I'm hoping next year to be able to make that type of event though. So
Yeah, cool.
well, definitely an interesting story. A little bit frustrating for the collectors.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and the next one that you have is probably my personal fit. Well, up there with ISOPEPE is well, it's one of my favorites in the entire collection. Really, is YELLPEPE. It's such
Yeah,
a it's an amazing card. You really did a banger job on that one.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, obviously that just came from the guy posting the video in the chat. He did all the hard work on that one.
Mhm.
The animation was pretty straightforward. But when he posted that, it was like, I mean, that was just one of the best moments in my life. Well, the best moment in a Rare Pepe chat. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So if there's anyone who doesn't know, the video in YELLPEPE was a real video, and the video is still on the chat somewhere. If you ask someone to repost it for you. Although actually another place to look is I minted that one as a sub asset. So YELLPEPE.YELLPEPE will get you to the actual video.
Oh, cool.
So the guy who did that, he went by the name of Hatch on Twitter, and when I made that, I reached out to him and I asked him if it was all right, and he had disappeared. He'd gone AWOL, and he never replied to me. So I put it out anyway, and I just left him a little note saying like, "Hey man, like if you ever like pick up these messages, just let me know, because I've got like a bunch of this for you. I'll send it to you and whatever. You can have some of the profits of it and whatever." So yeah, but he never came back, and I found out like maybe like a year or two later that he'd actually died. So on his Twitter, you can see like there's a couple of like well wishes from friends who was basically saying bye to him and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of sad to hear about that. He'd had some like chronic illness, and yeah, it felt a bit more poignant, like that he must have been ill, like, you know, at the time he made this video, like, or something as well. And yeah, had a bit of a carefree spirit about him over that maybe. But then even then, like a few years after that, like just recently, just in the last year, like I found out that his name was Nathan, same name as me.
Oh, no
So,
way.
wow, man, no way. This guy who I made this card for, and yeah, we've got the same name. So I feel a bit of like kinship with him. But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, I looked him up after after I learned about the card, and you know, it is
Yeah.
a sad story, but at the same time, he's definitely immortalized now in one of the coolest cards on the directory.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I always
Thanks.
recommend this card for people that are like just getting into Pepe's for an affordable card that is like super fun and awesome. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I wanted it to be, really, you know, a reasonably good issuance, enough to be able to distribute it really well and just keep the price of it low and make sure lots of people could have it and gift it wherever I can and stuff. So yeah, that's the
yeah.
intention, really. And then partly because, you know, I didn't feel like it was necessarily my Pepe. It was like, it was this guy's Pepe, like because it was him in the video and it was him that did all the hard work for it and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, you did a great job on the on basically making it look like a ripoff of Telegram too, you know, with the
Yeah,
little,
yeah. Well,
you
that
know.
was how it went in the chat. So the actual comments by the other people, like that was it. Somebody dared him. He messaged to say he was at this conference, and he took a screenshot, and then like someone said to him, like, "I'll send you some Pepes if you scream Pepe really loud." So he videoed himself doing it. Like it was within seconds it came back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it looked like a school, but that makes sense if was a conference. Yeah, okay.
yeah. Yeah, a
Yeah.
crypto conference. So yeah, you know, if I ever see you at a crypto conference, if I ever hear anyone like yell Pepe at a crypto conference, I'm going to send you a bunch of those cards. So, you know, there's a challenge to anyone, like yell Pepe.
You don't know what you may have unleashed.
Yeah. Yeah, come on. I have told people to do. I have like, yeah, I've offered people that before. Like, you know, I've said to people at conferences like, "Yeah, Pepe, and I'll send you some stuff," and nobody has.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
That's
yeah,
very surprising.
yeah. I bet some people will at HNFT Fest.
Yeah. Well, well, at least at the professional conferences that I go to, that would be a little bit awkward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it looks really awkward at the one that he was at. Like
Yeah.
everybody turns around. He doesn't go by halves either. He really screams as well. It's an amazing scream.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Stops everyone in their tracks.
Yeah, and yeah, and the way you captured the animation is cool too. So yeah, I really love that one. Um,
Thanks.
your next one is an interesting one too, transpose. You want to tell us a story on that one?
Yeah. So that was I'd made this other actually it came from like making a photo with my kid, like a Christmas photo to
Mhm.
send to people. And I made it really stupid, and it was kind of similar to this card. Like there was like galaxies in it, and he was there like in the middle, like holding this apple, and like it was all this gold shimmering around him. And yeah, just exercising my Photoshop skills really and trying stuff out. And so yeah, I ended up turning it into a Pepe and putting Pepe in there instead and stuff. So yeah, it turned out pretty nice.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting looking one with all the effects going on for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No mad story behind it though. Just simple,
Okay,
just a simple messing around with Photoshop thing
cool. And
that turned into a Pepe like everything does.
yeah, as everything does, right?
Yeah,
And your next one is another one I favorites of yours is Pepistry, because
yeah,
I really love how you got both the Pepe and the Wojak on there too. It turned out really well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It came out really good, that one. Um, yeah, a lot of like very like fine Photoshop work on that one. But obviously, yeah, it comes from the Bayo tapestry, and the issuance is 1066, which is where which is what the Bayo tapestry is depicting. So like I had this dream once that maybe we could do like the whole of the Bayo tapestry just with like Pepes and Wojaks and maybe some of the memes like creeping in there. Um, so if anyone's up for doing that, let me know. Like, but it's like it would be a lot of work. It's like 160 meters long or something.
Oh wow, that's
um,
enormous.
yeah, but I actually got I met someone about this time last year at a conference who is a fashion designer, and I showed her the Pepistry, like just in talking about Pepes, and she was like, you know what, I could probably like do a tapestry of that for you for real. And I was like, no way. So like, so yeah, I paid her to do me a real tapestry of it. So now there's like a real Pepistry now, and I've got it at the moment.
Oh
But
cool.
hopefully like at some point I'm gonna be selling it on. And yeah, we're gonna split the funds between me and the person that stitched it. So yeah.
So but the card itself was strictly a Photoshop job at the time, right? And then you did
Yeah,
that one
yeah, it was,
afterwards.
yeah.
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 No, that's cool. Yeah, that's definitely neat to have a physical representation of it now.
Yeah, and she did an amazing job on it as well. And like she even like went and like researched the actual stitching techniques they used
Mhm.
and stuff, and copied those. So yeah, it's come out really, really amazing.
Oh, that's cool. That's next level to actually research how they made tapestries back then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's got a beautiful frame around it as well. I'm trying not to shill it too hard, but I love it so much. It came out so good, and like, yeah, I'm
So
I
I'm hearing
really
an
don't want to
announcement
sell it.
for Scarce City right now, is what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'll probably go up on Scarcity at some point, or like I'll take it to a conference and sell it if Scarcity are there. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, definitely a fun one. Again, I love the depiction of the Wojak in there as well. So
Yeah, he
um,
turned out good. I love a good
yeah, really
Wojak.
fun. And your next one, I is how do you even pronounce that? Groiper TL, or how do
Oh
you?
yes, yeah, Groiper TL, Groipertal. So
Okay,
that's
yeah.
the, yeah, that's the famous mountain in Mexico called Popocatépetl or something like that, Popocatépetl. So yeah, it ends with this weird TL at the end. But I just wanted to do, so Groipers, I don't know if you know Groipers, it's another type of Pepe that came about, and people started making Groipers. So I was like, I want to do a Groiper. Um, and Groiper was supposed to be this like other character of this Pepe who was like a bit more all-knowing and a bit more smug, but he was also quite peaceful about his smugness and stuff. So like, yeah, I just wanted to, I just imagined this mountain, like this Groiper being this smug mountain, like yeah. So it was just a good little Photoshop job there. And
Okay, that makes sense. I just recently learned about the Groiper meme because I wasn't
yeah,
familiar with it until a few weeks ago. Um,
yeah, it's a good one. I like a Groiper.
mhm.
There's a
Yeah.
really good Groiper. I think the start of series 21 or 20 maybe. Uh, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's like the first card of series 20 or 21, but it's a really good Groiper card. So yeah, if you can get that one,
Oh yeah,
it's
I'll
one
have
of
to
my
check that
faves.
out.
Yeah,
And in fact, your next card is Groiper DB, which is
yeah, yeah,
you want
yeah.
to,
Groiper database.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was already something that existed as well. Like someone had like just basically collected a load of Groipers and stuck them in a database, and yeah, the card is just the card of the database. And again, I reached out to that guy and like tried to like ask him if it was all right and stuff, and he never replied. And eventually, I just submitted it anyway. And yeah, I don't know if Groiper DB is there anymore, but yeah,
I didn't know that was a real thing, so that's cool.
yeah, it was a real thing. Yeah, yeah. So that was an easy one, really. That was a cheap and easy one.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
a bit of Pepe history in there.
Yeah, and we're getting towards the end of the series too. So
Yeah,
that was a series 33, and your
yeah,
final card is a season 34,
yeah,
which is the Pepe Ubu.
yeah, Ubu, yeah. So I don't know how many people are going to know about Ubu, but Ubu's like this French character made by this guy called Alfred Jarry in the turn of the 19th century, and it's just something that I'm really into. Like he basically he basically caused the birth of absurdism, but like a good 50 years before it was supposed to come around. Like he was in France at the time when they were doing like realism, and like realistic theater was a big thing, and he just did this like he wrote this piece of theater called Père Ubu, which is like Father Ubu, with this ridiculous character. And the first thing he says on stage, he comes on stage and says the French word for shit, really loud, but with an extra long R at the end. And yeah, it's just a really good piece of like just a really great piece of theater, like that just was so anti-establishment and stuff. So yeah, I'm really into Alfred Jarry and all that French turn of the century art. And so yeah, that was just a tribute to that, and that's one of his drawings, like as a Pepe, but it's also got some stuff mixed in from uh, like a video production that someone had done in the 1960s of that play.
Okay.
So like some of the spinning stuff as well, like
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I wondered what that was from. The
yeah.
background.
So it's from a Pepe, it's from a Père Ubu like theater thing. It's on YouTube, you can see it if you want, but it's not the best theater version of it at all. It's like kind of a bit hard to watch.
Mhm.
um, but yeah, there's definitely some better ones out there if anyone's interested. Like the best one I reckon is there's an actor called Donald Pleasance. He's an Australian actor. He's like pretty mega famous in like very like serious Shakespearean circles and stuff. But
Okay.
Donald Pleasance does a Père Ubu, and that's on YouTube as well, and it's really good. So yeah, if you want an access point into into Ubu, that's a good one.
Okay, I did like the detail on the card too, where he's holding a bag that has, I think, what is it, 1.5 XCP or something?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, in the original flyer for the that Alpha Jerry made, it was like 1,500 gold or something.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So he's just carrying a bag. He's got his bags there, his
Yeah, so
crypto
that was your
bags.
that was your final OG Rare Pepe, and how did you feel when this, like, were you planning on submitting more when it shut down, or what were your feelings like back then?
Um, Probably my feelings were like kind of similar to a lot of people's and the scientists as well. Like it had been going for ages, and it had sort of become a bit of a weird thing. Like there was people piling in from all over the place. It was like right at the top of that bull run in 2017, leading up to
Mhm.
the new year of 2018. Um, it had just become a bit mad, and there was like thousands and thousands of messages in the Telegram chat every day, and like I couldn't check them anymore. I was like, this is like hours of my life, like scrolling. Um, and there was loads of people coming in that were just shilling all the time, like shilling their cards. So yeah, I think for me at that point, it was kind of, it was sad that it closed, but it was also a little bit of a relief.
Mhm.
And I can't imagine what a relief it would have been for the people who were in it for longer than me. But understandably, it wasn't great for all those people who'd come in later and who wanted to be part of it. Um, but yeah, for me, it was yeah, it was a good time. Really, it was a good time for it to end. Like I'd managed to contribute to it pretty well. Got a great social life out of it and stuff. Loads of entertainment. And there was other things going on as well at that point. That just in the couple of months before it closed, like the Ethereum NFTs had started getting going. Like
Yeah.
CryptoPunks had done their thing, and Dada NYC were like starting to do a lot of their stuff, which I thought was really interesting, and still think that they're doing really interesting stuff. Um, and Bitcoins had started, and Bitcoins was great, and I was like really loving that. So yeah, I think a lot of the people who were around at the time I was there had moved on to other things anyway. So
Okay, that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah, so well, let's talk about your fake rare, and then we can talk about some of those other projects that you got involved in too.
yeah.
Um, so what was your feeling about fake rares when you learned about that?
It was an interesting one because we'll probably end up talking about Kaleidoscope, but Kaleidoscope had been a bit of a home for like Pepe's without a home for like a couple of years, like during that bear market,
Yeah.
and people have been submitting Pepe's, like not a lot. I mean, we never pushed it as like a place where like
Mhm.
Pepe's could be a thing, but yeah, we had a home for them. Um, and so when Fake Rares came about, it was like, oh, cool! Like there's a new home, like they're going to do Pepe's. So there's an official Pepe thing. Um, there was a little bit of a thing with people like messaging me wanting me to take their Pepe's off of Kaleidoscope so that they could submit them to Fake Rares. So it was like, it was annoying, but no, it was fine. I thought it was great. And I was like really chuffed for like Skrilla and the people, his team, like getting it together and like doing such an amazing job of it as well. And, just, yeah, getting so much traction behind it. Because other people had tried to do Pepe's as well. There was this whole like Pepe vote thing where like once the Pepe's closed down, there was some people who got together and they were like, oh, well, we could do like public votes on what gets accepted and stuff. And that died. Um, and yeah, so and I'm sure there was another couple of people who tried to do other Pepe things that died. So
I-
yeah, a lot of respect for Skrilla for getting that going.
yeah, I mean they've done a great job so far. I even learned about there was like an Ethereum based Pepe project that they tried to start
Yeah,
like early on that I don't think it ever, from what I was able to gather, and I talked to Skrilla too, it looks like it never even got off the ground. Like they didn't even
yeah,
sell
yeah,
anything. But I don't know. I thought it was also really uh, appropriate that they were using Counterparty for fake rares too. I thought that was really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. It was great. Yeah, it's great to see Counterparty being used and like a whole new flux of interest in there. Yeah, it helps
It's
keep everything alive, really, doesn't it? And
it's
I still
it's
think Counterparty is a great platform. It doesn't have like that like smooth user experience yet, but like there's something special about it, like in terms of like the way communities form around things. I don't know, I think maybe like I've been thinking about this a lot just recently, like it's hard to put your finger on it, but like people, you kind of have to do your own thing on CounterParty and not rely on anyone else to do it. And I think, you know, if you want to start a project on CounterParty, you have to like be really like the driver of it, and you can't expect CounterParty to help drive it like OpenSea drives Ethereum NFTs, or like, you know, or, you know,
Yeah.
then you've got platforms like Artblocks where they're behind it all and curating it all, and they'll do everything for you. And so, yeah, I think just this like user driven thing behind it like really helps like the communities form, and then they just become really strong communities. And I think there's something really beneficial to that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was also I registered a few assets and have tinkered around a little bit with Counterparty, and I was amazed at how, you know, with the tooling that exists now, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a little bit clunky in certain areas that are getting better too, but like with like Free Wallet and easyasset.art, I mean,
Yeah,
it's really a smooth experience to be able to, for a novice who's, you know, hasn't really been in the scene, to actually, you know, mint your own asset. It's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So
yeah,
hats off to that. And I mean, so yeah, and what is it, Robot Love Coffee?
yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah, great tutorials there. I mean, that's really a great a boon for the community. And I know that we've got community members like Joe Looney and J-Dog that are working on hardware wallet support too for
Yeah,
Counterparty, which is huge. So
yeah,
there's a lot of cool stuff going on there. You
yeah.
know, and it's
It's
funny.
worth mentioning. It's worth mentioning Funchkins as well, because Funchkins onboarded a whole bunch of people like over the last bull market, and they were like doing videos, but they were also doing like clubhouse calls where they were like onboarding people on the call and stuff. And yeah, they did some wicked stuff. For the
Interesting.
community. Yeah,
You know, it's funny that we're recording this in 2022, and what are we? This is the 25th of September, I believe.
yeah,
So it's funny that you know, we're like right now as we're talking about fake rares, we've already been through a kind of like the already a boom, and now like we're in a bear market again. And I think it's
yeah,
kind of interesting to see who's staying around and
yeah,
who's like, you know, who's washing away. So I think it's interesting to see that, because I, you know, ultimately I think this stuff is assuming that these chains remain secure. I don't see why Counterparty and all this stuff isn't going to be, you know, useful in the future as well. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's super rad.
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, and yeah, Counterparty already went through like a couple of bear markets, and you know the whole Pepe community went through the bear market of 2018, 2019.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting. This a direct similarity to what you're explaining with the OG rares too. You know, they
Yeah,
launched during the bear too.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you submitted a fake rare that got accepted early on a season two. Yours
yeah,
is Squiggle Pepe.
yeah, yeah. An homage, an homage to Chromie Squiggle. Yeah, but with the colors changed, which again, it was another one of those things that seems like it's going to be easy, but it's not. Um, yeah, but it came off in the end. Yeah. So yeah, Chromie Squiggle is actually a wonderful bit of code, really nice and simple, and just the color changing thing is like, you know, it's not even a line of code for it to like cycle the hues like that. Um, you know, you're just incrementing the hue like every time, but yeah, in order to get like specific colors, you have to actually like hard code them in. So there's like yeah, I basically like spent a bit of time like working out how to do that. I'm not a great coder at all, as you can see with Kaleidoscope. Yeah, the idea was, so it is actually a bit of code, and if you go to there's actually a Kaleidoscope page with the code on it at the moment. But the idea was to have everyone who owned one, I was going to do their own generative version, because the code that's on Kaleidoscope generates one based on an address. generates a squiggle based on an address in the same way that the Chromie squiggle generates a squiggle based on the transaction hash. But if you go to the Kaleidoscope page, you see the one that's generated from my personal address. So I can change that address for anyone who, for any other address. And like I had this originally, I was planning on sending out a bespoke mint for everyone who owned one with their address in and, the code with the right thing. But I realized that's an awful lot of work to do. And so it's on a back burner, but it probably will happen maybe just before the next bull market.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up that, when you launched that, that was probably when we had an enormous bull, especially in the generative art last year. So I'm imagining that was about it during that period, right?
Yeah, and I'm a massive fan of a lot of the generative art stuff, and Chromie Squiggle is obviously like completely iconic, and so a tribute to that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the standout of the early Art Blocks curated series for sure. It's one that most people, it's probably the one that people recognize instantly, that maybe Fidenza too.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's cool. Well, you mentioned Bitcoin and Kaleidoscope, so I understand that you're one of the principal people behind the Kaleidoscope project. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so just as Rare Pepes was coming to an end, I sort of I was already thinking about wanting to put a platform up on CounterParty that just I'd seen like quite a lot of rejects from Rare Pepes and other people who'd made Pepes that they weren't submitting anyway, and there was people making other things on CounterParty that they were putting other images to and stuff, and so I just kind of wanted to make a little bit of a home for them. And I also had some other ideas for myself that I wanted to do like outside of Rare Pepes. So yeah, I was just messing with some code and ended up like with this stupid DOS looking or like not DOS, but like early computer looking like interface. And like the cards would load up in this weird way, which was kind of an accident of the like some of the code that I was using. And yeah, I didn't have it ready when Rare Pepes closed, but a couple of months later I put it up and just messaged a couple of chats saying like, oh, you could always submit things to Kaleidoscope, and yeah, it caught on a little bit. And again, like with a lot of these communities, like a few people like gathered around it. It became really good fun, and there was like a small like close knit group of us just messing around. But yeah, the idea was that like there wasn't going to be any like barriers. Basically, there was no barrier to entry, and anything would be accepted as long as it wasn't like illegal material or deeply offensive.
So there's no curation at all, basically.
No, none at all.
Oh, okay.
I still, when I first launched it, I had to manually like okay everything. I don't have to anymore, but like yeah, I can delete things from it, and if I delete things from it, they will be removed from Xchain as well. Yeah, so that was part of it, like as well. I wanted to have some like I wanted to have some mutability like of my assets. I wanted to be able to change things. I wanted an asset where I could like change it over time, like add bits to it and change things with it. So I actually minted the name Kaleidoscope, and like that was an ASCII like art thing that I was working on for a while, and I wanted to be able to update it like every now and then, add new bits, and I think I did like 4 different iterations before I got bored of that. Yeah, and so you could like I could accept like code as well, like on Kaleidoscope, and it just goes in a little iframe, so you can like upload code assets, you could upload video assets, music, anything really. And there wasn't like a great deal of uptake with that. There was like some people that were kind of into it and uploaded a few things. We've had like quite a few videos and like other like picture formats, but I don't know if anyone's like uploaded any code stuff other than me. I think I'm the only person that puts code stuff on Kaleidoscope. But yeah, it was really good fun during the bear market to be doing that, and to to be doing that alongside Bitcoins as well, because like Bitcoins was a great community, and some of the people in Bitcoins were like coming to Kaleidoscope as well. But yeah, so since the bull market came back like in 2020, 2021, like people started coming more to Kaleidoscope and putting up more and more stuff. So like there was that, but most of it is like pictures and like other Pepes and stuff. But it's really cool, like just to get a new bunch of community people in there as well. Like the vibe's just really nice, and I just really, yeah, it's been really cool. It was like it's just a little project for me, like that. I never made any money off. It was just like, it was just for fun, and it's just been loads of fun. And like, yeah,
it is fun. I've browsed it a few times, and I've picked up a couple assets out of there, that are just fun. I mean, they're like, I think one thing that's nice about it is like I don't think anyone's trying to, like you said, trying to make any money off of it. It's just for people having fun and trading, that kind of thing. But it's definitely cool for sure.
Yeah, it changes the vibe. The website itself is like, there's actually too many assets for it to load them all properly now. So like, it's actually better to look at them like on Dankset or somewhere else. You'll get like more of the assets. So Dankset keeps a full record of the API. And so if I did delete them from like if I did delete something from Kaleidoscope, like it would probably be up on Dankset still.
Okay.
For a while, yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that there was essentially zero curation, but that
yeah,
definitely, like you said, definitely gives home to some stuff that wouldn't have a place to go otherwise.
Yeah. And I actually like there was even stuff where you could like I was a bit naughty. You could submit an image for someone else's asset if they hadn't submitted an image, and it would come up on Exchange. So like, yeah, it was a bit naughty. So I actually, like, when I first started it, I actually gathered a bunch of other people's like straight assets and just added them, just so that I had some content there. So I looked after some of the fake rares, that some of the series 0 fake rares that, like, the series 0 fake rares are the ones where they were officially rejected from the original Rare Pepe thing back in the day. And they've been called back to be part of series 0. So yeah, I like to think that Kaleidoscope looked after Pepes like in the interim between like original Rare Pepes and the fake rares. Like Kaleidoscope we just had that little time where we looked after Pepes.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because that's one thing that's interesting with the fake rares. They have a couple of unique mechanics. One is that they're allowing artists who get the torch to introduce to series 0 some of their like early assets and rejects and whatnot back to that collection. And the other interesting mechanic too is they have that fake ASF token that is it's really it's a really novel concept, because like you were describing before, like the scientists and some of the community getting burned out with the original series Rare Pepes. This establishes a hard cap on it for sure. So it makes sure that and in its own way, it also kind of ensures that there's a level of effort and quality too, in the sense that you have to burn the tokens are not cheap. So you have to, so you're definitely going to at least try and make something worthwhile before you burn one of those too.
Yeah. And there's some people I know with the fake ASF tokens who like will sponsor other artists. So they will lend a fake ASF token to an artist like who can't afford one, like in return for like some of the asset or something, a certain amount of that asset.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So there's sponsorship going on, so it's kind of nice like that.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about Bitcoin too? You've been a part of that project, and it's definitely a kind of a fun one as well.
Yeah, it was great, and it was really well done. Like, and yeah, again, like it's just such a great community, and probably my favorite of all the communities. It was one of the best laughs. And the guy who started it, Dan, did like an amazing job. Especially like he locked himself in for 4 years, and and you know, and he pulled through with it despite a number of things. So there was a little bit of like counterparty infighting that he was like, he ended up being part of, but and you know, and ended up sort of like I don't know what the right word is, but he ended up like maybe like departing from them a little bit in ideals and stuff, and so he was sort of wanting to step out of counterparty a little bit. I don't know if that's fair to say. He might tell you otherwise, but and then it was the bear market as well, and like, so Dan did a great job of like still like you know, pursuing that and like delivering it for all of us and the community like towards the end. And it was, you know, he's a proper coder. He did like a really cool website with like some functionality in and stuff, and I even like, again, like for that I submitted a couple of code-based assets, and Dan was like more than happy to like entertain me like on that. But yeah, there was just, even then, like there was other people in that community who were like playing a really big part and just doing their own thing within it and just making it really good fun. So yeah, but yeah, Bitcoins was great.
I haven't had a chance to collect Bitcoins yet, but I've seen some of the assets, and it's really cool. They have quite the variety of art, from like really well done stuff to like kind of like cut paste, you know, like
Yeah,
almost like trash art. I mean, there's a great variety, but a lot of a lot of topical memes too that are usually seen in the crypto community. So it looks
yeah,
like a lot of good fun.
yeah, it's a lot of good fun. I'm always like worried about how like interesting it's going to be to people who didn't live through the 4 years of playing it, but yeah, there are some new people coming through and like who like appreciate the cards for what they are without worrying about the community aspect, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's one of my intentions with doing these interviews, is at least for the Rare Pepes, is to you know, I had this I introduced several people last year to Rare Pepes who weren't
Yeah,
a part of the original crypto community.
yeah,
um you know, and even though I was in crypto, some of this stuff, because I wasn't involved in these Telegram communities, I had no idea what the references are. So you know, it just
yeah,
it's gonna, my hope is that having this information will uh, make make Rare Pepes like easier to approach for newcomers,
yeah,
and explain the context and the memes, because
yeah,
otherwise it's just kind of, it can be baffling, right?
yeah, totally, yeah, yeah, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's been a lot
Yeah.
of fun. Yeah, but so Bitcoins, and that just wrapped up this year, correct?
Yeah, so it finished in January of 2022. Yeah, that was the last harvest. And then I think they did, so the harvest actually runs for 3 months. So I think the last harvest went out on like the 1st of January, and then they did like a closing ceremony like 3 months later in April or something. And we had an auction at the end of it, like just for the last chance to like sell and buy cards. So yeah,
Oh, that's fun.
yeah. There's actually another good access point for Bitcoins is there was a couple of guys doing a podcast of it for a while called Crop Talk. And it's actually up on Spotify. There's like 10 episodes and they're really good fun, like they're really hilarious. But yeah, it's just, yeah,
I guess to explain to people completely outside of it, like uh you know, like the corn thing is like is a reference to Bitcoin. I mean, I don't know
yeah,
like where it started, but you know,
yeah,
people would, Bitcoin is just another way to and corn is another way to refer to Bitcoin.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then Dan sort of spun it off from that, and like he issued Bitcoin tokens on Counterparty. Actually, he issued crops at first, and then he distributed crops like by an airdrop, and then if you hold crops, then you grow a certain amount of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was paid out as like a dividend to crop holders.
Oh
Uh,
gosh,
yeah. And
I
then
didn't
so
know it was that sophisticated.
yeah, yeah, it was proper. So like the funny thing is that like Counterparty's protocol, it was meant to be like a really like high-end financial like platform at first. So it had like all these dividend things like and betting and all sorts of like, you know, trading and stuff like built into it. That's why it's, you know, become so useful. Like it already had all of that stuff. So yeah, Dan was really like tapping into like what Counterparty can already do, like when he started that.
Yeah, it's interesting that Counterparty was really, like you said, meant for more like financial services and stock
Mhm.
trading and all that kind of stuff, and ended
Yeah,
up being utilized mainly for trading JPEGs of frogs, right? So
yeah, yeah. And it was cool to hear from like Adam Krellenstein, like on
yeah,
your last Twitter Spaces thing. It was really cool.
yeah, it's amazing. He, uh, it's amazing to hear directly from him, about the work that he did and his vision for the platform. And I also thought it was really cool how he didn't seem upset and is really kind of
Yeah,
accepted like what the platform became used for and known
yeah,
for. So very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Because a
A lot
lot,
of respect for that guy.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, um, one thing I admire for a lot of the early creators in the not just in Counterparty, but a lot of the crypto and artists and whatnot is, you have something that can, with the NFT space, it can actually stand the test of time for the
Yeah,
foreseeable future. Whereas if you work in a lot of other industries, whatever you produce or work on, basically, the lifespan is what, 3 years, 5 years before it
yeah,
gets, you know,
yeah,
tossed in the bin. So
yeah. Transient.
yeah,
Yeah,
so definitely cool to we definitely owe him uh, a lot of gratitude for the work that he did and the fact that it works so well too. I mean, um, it's really easy for a newcomer to, like I said, watch those videos and just get started.
yeah, 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 yeah. Cool.
Yeah, are there any other projects that you're looking at or involved in now, or anything else you're tinkering
Um,
around with?
yeah, yeah. I mess around with a load of other stuff. I mean, I find the whole scene like really interesting, and I mean,
Mhm.
there's just so many like great counterparty ones, but not just counterparty. Like I'm really into like a lot of the generative art, and
Mhm.
um, it's kind of nice to have been involved in Pepe's early on because it's sort of given me a little bit of a financial buffer, like to be able to get into some of the other platforms. And so like, I mean, FX Hash has been like one of my favorites, like right from the moment they launched. There's some amazing stuff on there.
I
And
just had someone show me some of their stuff because I don't like, again, there's so many different projects and communities I can't follow it all, but someone just
yeah,
showed me some of the work and it was really incredible. So
yeah.
is there a submission process or a fee, or how does that work? Like you're saying, like it's helpful to have a little bit of a buffer to interact with these communities. Like
Yeah,
how
yeah.
are they structured?
Well, so I mean, FX Hash, you don't need much of a buffer at all. It's like some of the generative art on there is like super cheap. I mean, like 50 cents,
Okay.
a dollar for a piece, like a lot of the time.
Mm,
For like for the artists who aren't so well known.
mhm.
Um, um, but yeah, there's no strict submission process. They will flag things that look dodgy or that have maybe ripped off someone else's code or something. But yeah,
Okay.
you can just upload you have to make a generative project. You upload it
Mhm.
like during the opening window for uploading, and then it gets sort of scheduled around all the others, and it gets released. But you do it yourself, really. It's not
Okay.
like it's not curated in the way that Art Blocks is.
I see. And have you published a few pieces of your own generative work?
Yeah, I've put a couple of pieces up there already. Yeah, but like I say, I'm not great at coding, so like I don't. I've been like into FX Hash for like ever since they started. It's been like over a year now, or a year maybe, and only managed to get like two things up there. But yeah, still messing with some code and like hoping to put some more stuff up. Um, but yeah, mostly just buying. I put some stuff up on so FX Hash is on Tezos. It runs
Mhm.
on the Tezos blockchain. And there's also like object.com and Hiket Nunk, which kind of became defunct, but it's taken over by the community. But yeah, that's all like open submission too. So I've like put a bunch of stuff up on object, and yeah.
I collected a couple pieces when the het I don't know how do you pronounce it, the hedunk or
Yeah, Hiket Nunk, yeah.
yeah, hedunk. I collected a few early pieces by Gadut when he was putting out some
Mm,
stuff right after his art blocks pieces. I got a couple of his pieces on the Tezos platform that I thought were
yeah,
cool.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
it's
was quite a few of like the premium art blocks artists went and like released on the quiet, like on Hicket Nuncan. So yeah, there was some good pickups there. Yeah, another one was
yeah, I
Schwembelder. Is that how you say his name? Schwembelder. Did some like really cool stuff on Object before he did his art blocks one, and yeah,
I was really surprised that I was able to get like one of the could do one of his pieces. It was like a edition of 10 I got for, it was really, really cheap at the time. I think I paid the equivalent of like $100 or something in Tezos.
yeah,
So, I don't know. It's Tezos is an interesting platform. I
yeah,
mean, a lot of that seemed to arise from, at least at the time, that Ethereum was going through the crazy gas wars and gas prices where
yeah,
like
killer.
it made it miserable to do anything. I
Yeah,
mean, ugh, so luckily it's better now, but it seems like there's like that's basically bootstrapped enough of a community of collectors and artists that seems to be, from what I've been able to tell, seems to be self-sustaining at this point.
yeah. It's a great community, and most of that community like interacts on Twitter, and there's loads of Twitter spaces going on, which is a really good platform for those sort of interactions. And so yeah, um, yeah, I think the community strength of it again is what's like kept it going, really. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's probably I'm not an expert. I would gather though that that's probably the majority of the usage of that Tezos blockchain right now, though, would be the
yeah, totally,
absolute.
yeah, almost entirely just art and NFTs. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
again, probably another surprise for the guy who started it.
It's got to be funny for some of these. I mean, like we were talking about altcoins back in the day. Like to have all these lofty ambitions for all the technical stuff that some of these guys are envisioning, and then again it ends up being trading frog JPEGs and generative art.
Yeah, yeah,
But ultimately, I think I think the NFTs are really like super powerful in the sense that like what was it, last year and a half ago, I started following some of the like photography Twitter, like
yeah,
following some artists, and one thing I noticed is you know is to watch that happening in that space where even creators, like it's like NFTs are onboarding not just collectors but creators too into crypto, that without that there would be like they would never make that leap, right? but
yeah,
but
yeah,
nfts
definitely.
nfts are creating that incentive, and doing it in a fun way to where people is grabbing more and more people into crypto, which is super
Yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, cool. So yeah, so you've been having fun with the generative scene. um
yeah.
yeah, so any plans to make a submission for art blocks or anything fun like that?
Oh boy, I don't know if I'm good enough for art blocks. I'm kind of happy just like, yeah, just taking it easy and like putting
Yeah,
my stuff out when I want, without pressures. And like, if it ends up a little bit crap, then it ends up a little bit crap. And I don't have to
being able
worry
to
too
hide a
much
little bit
about.
in the anonymity a little bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's kind of my work anyway,
Mhm.
it's kind of just easy
Having fun.
going, a little bit of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, any other projects or anything else you're following, or any thoughts about where we're where like NFTs or even counterparty or anything going into the future? I mean, we're in kind of an interesting space right now.
Yeah. I have no idea what's going to happen with NFTs, but probably one of the most interesting projects that I know of is Dada.nyc.
Mhm.
And they've been going for a while. They sort of started before CryptoPunks was released. Well, I think, or is it the other way around? I think CryptoPunks maybe lent them their contract to mint some of their stuff. So Dada.nyc is like a communal drawing platform where you like, you draw with other people on the internet, and it all like runs into like this drawing conversation. But in the background, they've been working on this whole new like art economy thing running off of crypto. And it's called the invisible economy, and you know it's intended I mean, you might have to ask them a little bit to put it a bit more eloquently. They'll be at HNFT Fest, and they're around, but it's to put the market itself as a bit more of an invisible part of it, so like creatives can just continue being creative, and it's kind of maybe going down the socialist lines if you were to like think about it politically, but it's basically a communal platform for artists to all work and support each other together. And they've been doing some amazing things already, like there's already like a bunch of artists drawing on their platform that now live off their drawings without the pressure of actually having to sell them.
Yep.
So yeah, it's really
Interesting.
amazing. Yeah.
I'll have to look into that. One thing I did notice early on is that a lot of a lot of artists that got into Pepe's and whatnot, it creates a little bit of a circular economy where a lot of the
Yeah,
demand is other creators buying the other, like people publishing cards so they can trade and buy other cards, I mean, it
yeah,
kind of itself, like a large part of it is self-sustaining from that perspective. It doesn't,
yeah,
it lessens the need for external cash coming in because people are just trading amongst themselves to keep it going
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But then yeah, I mean that was my experience with original Rare Pepes. Like actually like minting my own Rare Pepes allowed me to be able to collect so much more just because I was then part of the market. So yeah, it was great. Yeah, but I guess like I don't know, would you need like, is it a bit Ponzi-ish? You'd need like new money coming in. It's okay to trade them. You won't make any money if everyone's trading and no new money's coming in. But then do you need the money to come in to make a bit of a living? So do you constantly need that? And yeah, it's kind of an interesting one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean,
Much to get into like at the end of this podcast.
yeah, exactly. It's definitely an interesting time we're into. Like I said, we're in kind of this bear market. So I think the creators and the collectors and the people that stay around, you know, like the other bear markets we've been through, see these huge washouts and people that participate in crypto at all. And so there's just such a small percentage that have stuck through these different bear markets. But
Yeah.
especially with these projects, I think I think it'll be really telling to see who has the passion even when there's not any real money in it, right? So
Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, you can sort of already see like all the people who are still building like during this bear market, like, still pushing and still like, yeah, meeting up
it,
just as much as before. Yeah.
it's
And
it's
go on.
it's a fun time too, to kind of watch as we're doing this as well, because we just witnessed the Ethereum merge. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of cool stuff that's um, going to be happening in the crypto space, because Ethereum is such a powerful player in the not just the market, but as a platform for all these
Yeah.
different services and NFTs and whatnot. So
Yeah.
this is definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think it's going to put a little bit more pressure on some of these other networks to adapt and improve going forward too.
Yeah. 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 I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Bitcoin like after this Ethereum thing. So like there's
Yeah,
still loads of like Bitcoin maxis out there that say it's the one and it won't go away. But like, yeah, and I love Bitcoin, don't get me wrong. And I could see like that it would be the only candidate like for a like global financial reserve, like a digital global financial reserve. But that might mean that it still might not become the global reserve and
yeah.
it might still go away. Um,
Well, I mean, I'm always trying to look towards the future, and one thing that I am disturbed at is I still haven't seen any BIPs for implementing quantum resistant signature
yeah,
scheme for
yeah,
Bitcoin. And the
yeah,
other thing that needs to be future proofed is I read an article a while ago that even the proof of work system itself is vulnerable when quantum computers of a sufficient complexity are available as well. And
yeah, right.
just what was it, last week, a week and a half ago, something like that, we had NVIDIA what, like, they announced their new range of technology in terms of graphics cards, but one thing I haven't heard enough people talk about is with one of their DGX, a cluster of these DGX systems, they were claiming they're able to have 40 virtual qubits, right?
Right.
So that's so a lot of the people that are in the crypto space have been saying that 1,000 qubit is what's needed to break elliptic curve cryptography, which is what Bitcoin and Ethereum are running on.
Yeah.
And to me, what's shocking is like the lack of people talking about this when the rate of advancement for graphics cards is enormous. Like 10 years ago, like the top end graphics card had 4 gigs of RAM and like is like pathetic compared to like what they just announced, like these 4090s with 24
Yeah.
gigs of RAM, and they're just monsters, right? So
Yeah.
I
It's going
think
exponential.
this should be putting a lot of fire underneath not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum and all these other networks. They need to take this seriously because I mean,
Because
especially
we'll
like
lose our Pepes.
yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, for a couple of reasons, like not just the technology, but you know, with like Bitcoin and Ethereum, we've seen how long it takes to actually manage a transition, and
Yeah.
this would require all assets moving to a new signature scheme. Imagine how long
Yeah.
that would take, right? I mean,
Yeah. That would be massive.
anyway, that's something I've been kind of watching, and I hope we see some urgency develop there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That would be
because I
cool.
because I'd love to see Bitcoin and all these networks survive well into the future, but this is
Yeah.
definitely I think something that needs some more attention.
Yeah. Maybe this is the next big test.
Yeah, I mean it could be. I mean, because like hardly any you know, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm optimistic. I mean, you know, that like so that's one thing I'm tracking. But I'm also just looking forward to seeing, you know, what other developments go on in the in the space too. I mean, I'm really hyped seeing the fake rares, like what cool stuff we're gonna see pop out in this limited run that they have left. You know, I think we're
Yeah.
roughly a quarter through the fake ASF tokens, so it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see what else is produced too.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to chat about, or any other topics you want to cover?
I don't think so. Might be worth just mentioning Floony Bin. If anyone doesn't know about Floony Bin yet, it's a fake rare thing that's become a spin-off project of its own that a few people have submitted to. That's definitely worth looking into, because I think that's one of the funnest little corners of counterparty that's going on at the moment, and the little community around that is kind of a bit bonkers.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so Floony Bin is a fake rare, but the guy who put it out, Boo Earns, his name is on Twitter. He's been doing loads of sub assets from other artists, but it's become like this. It's become a thing, like a lot of mimetic power in the Floony Bin thing, and Floony Bin is based on Looney Bin, which is the original an original Rare Pepe about Joe Looney. So
Yeah.
like, so yeah, Joe Looney's like becoming a meme himself, like through this Floony Bin project. So yeah, it's good fun and worth checking out.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. Has that increased the price of the Flutie Bins cards too?
Um, I don't know actually. I haven't been looking, but if you own Floony Bin, then you get the other ones distributed to you as a dividend. So
I
yeah,
don't
you
own one
earn a
yet.
sub asset.
I'll have to see if I can afford one. That's fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's really good. Yeah, it's really cool. And
Yeah, that's
apart from that, that's it, I think.
okay. Well, that's a definitely that definitely sounds like a fun community. There's so many cool things that people are doing with sub assets now too. That's definitely
Yeah, yeah,
I guess that'd be the last thing we can talk about would be that's kind of a newer trend. I don't know if people were doing this back in the day, but like one thing we've seen with fake rares is people are dropping sub assets after you know they'll do an initial distribution of their card, you know, and
yeah,
then wait like you know after like let's say the first month they'll start dropping these cool sub assets. So that's definitely something that's fun. So I'll check out the Flooney bin though. That's cool.
yeah. Cool.
Well, thanks for chatting with me today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been cool. Keep up the good work.
Well, thanks.